Good afternoon, guys, from another video here in Iraq, and it's actually and sadly my last and final video that I'm going to be shooting here in Iraq before I move on to my next country. That said though, guys, I always save the most important video for last, which is sharing the answers to all your guys' questions that you asked me on Instagram. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and keep in mind, make sure you stay until the end of this video because these questions aren't in any order from importance, from best to worst or anything. They're just simply how they were asked and how I'm reading them off my phone. So let's hop right into it. All right, so starting with the first question here from bgr.nunes. You think that traveling there as a woman plus man wouldn't be a completely different experience? You know, it's hard for me to say exactly what it would be like because while I was in Iraq, I did not travel with any other females. Now, that said, I would recommend a girl named Janet. I can't remember her last name, but she has solo traveled in proper Iraq, and she spent a lot of time doing the exploration of many different areas in Iraq. So I would definitely check out her channel because you'll get a much more authentic response. You know, like I think the reality is whenever I get the question about safety is my time, which you'll find out when I talk about it more, was overall very safe. But of course, do things happen in places around the world? Yes. Has a lot of things happened in the past in Baghdad, and are things still happening? Unfortunately, yes. Has it gotten safer from what I understand? Yes. Going there and visiting, there's always going to be a risk. You know, taking proper safety precautions like letting your embassy know, you know, having a tour guide can sometimes be a very helpful option to, you know, keep you on the beaten path, staying in accommodations in areas that are known to be a bit more safer. Taking those safety precautions are going to give you the best possible chance to not run into any risks. DJ Nair 99, how safe is Iraq to go with family? You know, I think that is probably the same answer I would give as the last question, the first question, which is there are always going to be risks, whether you're with your family, you're a male or a female. Just going back to having a tour guide, someone to show you around is going to be the best way to, you know, ensure your safety. That said, things can happen, and so, you know, just keep that in mind. Which city in Iraq is the best to visit for non-Arabic speakers? From Nadunes. Yeah, so to be honest, I don't know. Let's say if we're speaking about Kurdistan and Iraq, then I would say Erbil or Sulaimani. Now in Iraq proper, I only went to Basra and I went to Baghdad. I would say in Baghdad there were more English speakers than in Basra, but you can still definitely find English speakers everywhere you go. Just bring Google Translate because you'll need it, especially when you're taking taxis to places. Lena.Khalil95, what do you think about Iraq? Do you feel safe to travel there again? What didn't you like? Yeah, I think Iraq's a really beautiful place. I'd say nature-wise, since I've only been to Baghdad and Basra, I've only gotten a very small feel of what Iraq's like. And in Kurdistan, I had the option, just spent 2 weeks there versus only 5 days in Iraq proper. I only got a small glimpse of what it was like. I got a glimpse of the city life and just doing some general exploration to all of the markets. And I really liked the hospitality there. People were very nice. I feel like, you know, unfortunately, I don't feel like it. I know, unfortunately, because of all the things that have happened over time, over the last, you know, couple decades in Iraq, it's caused the culture to not have very much tourism coming in there. And so, you know, I really appreciated how willing they were to show us around and introduce us to local foods, and everyone wanted to invite us over for meals, and everyone was there to take care of us, and people were really excited to have us, learn about us. And so I just felt very, very welcomed, and you know, you could tell they really love having guests visit them in Iraq, and they just don't get them often enough. So that for me was a very exciting part. And to answer continuously on that question, do you feel safe to travel there again? Yeah, I would definitely go again. Since I only went to Basra and Baghdad, I wanted to go to quite a few more places in Iraq at some point. Just the way that I had my itinerary set up, I was moving kind of fast paced, and I needed to get to my next spot to work on videos. So I could only do 5 days there. And so when I return, I will definitely be sharing more of the country with you guys because I think there's so much more to see. You have Mosul, you have like the Iraqi marshes to go in, you have Karbala, just to name a couple. But yeah, there's so many more that I hope next time we'll be able to share with you guys. What didn't I like? So to continue on that question, there wasn't really too many things that stuck out that I didn't like necessarily. There was an extremely large amount of trash and litter in places, And so that was, pretty sad to see. When I was on the train, if you saw the train video, when I took it from Baghdad to Basra, I didn't like how the military officer, even as a joke, pulled his gun out at me and basically pointed at me to open the door when I was trying to explain to him, because we were having trouble communicating. I was speaking English, he was speaking Arabic, and I was changing my flight, and I was trying to tell him, hey, I'm on the phone here, just give me 1 second. And he didn't get that, so he put his pistol through the door crack and pointed it at me and was like, yelling something at me. But he was kind of laughing, so I think he was doing it as a joke, but you don't joke around with a loaded pistol, So he was a really nice guy, and I feel bad because, I'm sure he didn't mean it in the way he did, but you just don't do that. When I opened the door for me, he continued holding the pistol in my leg, and I was like, yo, dude, chill. It happened so fast. And then he popped the clip out and fired it 5 times. And I'm like, dude, if a bullet would have been jammed in there, you could have murdered me or Luke by accident. There's a certain level, I was told when I got to Iraq that people enjoy joking around and having a good time, which I appreciated, and I joined in a lot of the times. But that was too far. We took that joke way too far, where it was it kind of put me into a state of shock after that. I was like, whoa, what just happened there? Next question here, Mr. Loops, I want to travel with you and Luke. It's possible, question mark? Possibly. I would love to travel with as many of you guys as possible. Maybe one day in the future, I plan to try and schedule a group trip where, a bunch of you guys can come and join me. Will that be in 2022? I don't know, maybe 2023. I want to make sure I find a great place that I can bring, that I can, invite as many people as possible, the least amount of visa requirements at some point. As you can imagine, I am so humbled and so grateful, and I get many requests for people to travel with me, so it's obviously hard to accommodate plans with everyone, but that's why I think it'd be a great idea, because I absolutely love meeting you guys when I travel, and I do my best to, but obviously, as you can imagine, it's fast-paced, I get a lot of messages, and so it's not always easy to make these things happen, and so that's why I was like, maybe one day if I can plan one of these group trips and do some traveling together with you all, then I can see as many of you as possible, and we can have a great time. So, keep up with the channel here, maybe in 2022, if I make some plans to work on a trip like that, I would of course be sharing them with you guys through YouTube. So thanks for that, and hope we can. Rex Joshua, is it really safe for travelers to go there? I love the food and people there seem nice. Yeah, so we'll probably get a version of this question throughout the video, so sorry if it's a bit repetitive, but to be fair, probably your safest way of visiting Iraq is to go with a very set tour guide. Luke and I did not go with a set tour guide. It was kind of a bit of a last minute trip, and so we went to Baghdad, we kind of just figured out some things, and there were pros and cons. We got some experiences that you couldn't have gotten with a tour guide. At the same time, I wish I would have known how many more days I needed in Baghdad, because I felt like just those couple days that I was there was not enough. With Basra, it was definitely great to go without a tour guide. Actually, in neither places, I never felt unsafe, but that was just my experience, I think I had read in the news that a week after Luke and I left, there was a terrorist attack that happened 20 minutes from Baghdad. So yeah, unfortunately those things are still happening, and just because my experience, it was very safe, I don't necessarily want to tell you that it is safe. From all my encounters, I never felt like someone was going to come and pickpocket me and rob me. But yeah, of course, in the back of my mind, media and things that have happened throughout the history there, bombings and terror attacks, and those things are sometimes in the back of your mind. So it's important to be vigilant, to be knowing your surroundings. If something seems sketchy, get out of there. Crowded markets a lot of the times are what can be targeted when these attacks happen, and so sometimes you just want to be a little bit more on edge. If you're going to those markets, stay away from the crowded areas, and if someone seems like they might be doing or acting or seeming sketchy or following you, that's when you just want to get out of there. I don't want to scare you, because I didn't have those experiences, but I also don't want you to have the wrong impression from this video that everything's perfectly safe there, because a lot of things have happened over the last couple decades, and you never know who you're going to run into that has a vendetta against your culture. I got some TikTok comments from people that really said some very rude things to me just simply because of my nationality. I'm not looking on this video to talk about politics or what has happened in the past. I personally don't do this. I don't blame a single individual if their country has made a decision that's something that I'm not happy with, but there are people in the world that, just because I'm of an American nationality, they have a specific, hate against me because of maybe something the government's done or a direct effect on them. And, that's their own opinion, and I can't say they're wrong, I can't say they're right. I just can tell you that you never know in countries where there's been recent history between maybe a country you're from and a country you're visiting, where someone might be upset with your country as a whole, and unfortunately they can take that out on you. So I hope I explained that in a way that was fair to you guys. Like, you know, I respect everyone's feelings and opinions as to why they feel that way. You never know what, you know, something might have happened in the war that was directly related to them that, you know, they're very upset about. And so you can't blame them for it, but you also have to be safe, and these risks do exist. And outside of those people, there are also evil people in the world that, you know, will hurt you. And so this, I'm telling you this because it happens in all countries, but in some of these countries where, you know, terrorism is more common, you want to be safe. From Billy Ice Hockey, your comment is just safe. So I'm not sure what your question was. Joe.Georges, was it scary traveling in Iraq being an American? Did you feel safe? Yeah, like I said, I'll get this question a lot of times, but I'll answer some of them if the question's slightly different. Was it scary for me? So honestly, the anticipation of going in there was way more scary than actually being there. Like the week leading up when I was in Kurdistan, and then like the night I was flying to Baghdad, I was very anxious all day because, you know, your mind's heard so much in the media throughout your life, and now you're going to a place where people are calling you crazy, you shouldn't go, why are you doing this? You know, and for me, like, I want to visit every country in the world. I want to find beautiful things about everywhere in the world, and so I believe it's worth it for the risks that come with it. You know, since I was going with Luke, with another friend, I felt much safer. I probably would have felt the whole time much more on edge if I was alone, just simply because I would have been a solo traveler in Baghdad. That said, though, I know people who have done that have had an amazing time. They're maybe just a bit more brave than me. And I'm not even saying that something's necessarily going to happen to you. It's just, you know, solo traveling, wherever you go in the world, there is, you know, more risks. You don't have someone to know where you're at. You don't have someone to kind of like bounce ideas. You don't have someone to back you up if something happens. And so when I was actually in Iraq, though, I didn't ever have an encounter where I was like, whoa, something bad's about to happen. Besides that train moment, but it was more of a joke. It was like a scare of like a joke. So yeah, I guess that's probably the best way to explain it. Saslito 1991, how is life there comparing to America? Will you ever think of moving there? Well, I mean, life is very different, you know, very different cultures, different language, different architecture. The US is very westernized in terms of culture, architecture, design. And Iraq, you know, has a more traditional feel, and it has a lot of really modern sides to it, especially in Kurdistan. But, you know, also in Baghdad, you'll find like very modern cafes and things like that. And then you'll find a more traditional style, but if I would move there, no, I wouldn't move to Iraq. It's not really a place that I see myself living long term. Not for any other specific reason other than it's just, you know, I don't necessarily have an interest to move there. For me, it's a great place that I enjoy visiting and having the adventures there, but when it comes to moving, I don't know where I'll live. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm even going to live in the United States. I don't live anywhere right now, I just kind of travel around. So for me, any thought of moving anywhere is kind of like, probably not anytime soon. From IL. Was Kurdistan region fun? Give an honest opinion. Yeah, I loved Kurdistan region. I thought it was so loaded with so much from nature. All the cities had so much life and energy and vibrancy and just non-stop stuff going on in all the places. Kurdish people were very welcoming. Kurdish words were a little bit easier to understand. Overall, it was a great experience. Yeah, I want to come back to Kurdistan so badly. There's like so many more cities I was recommended, and I thought it was such a good time. So Pascal 708, did you enjoy the food more than Lebanon? Honestly, there was a lot of similarities to a certain extent on the food options they had in terms of like Middle Eastern food and the cuisines, but I think I did like Lebanon's food better. I also experienced way more options in Lebanon because I stayed for 2 months, so the comparison is not perfectly fair. There isn't as much like beef there. There's a lot more lamb or sheep, one of the two, and I don't like that as much. The options were a little bit more limited from that perspective. My favorite dish though from Iraq was probably kebabs, and so I had so many kebabs while I was in Iraq and in Kurdistan, and they were just delicious. From Abdul Hamzi, when are you coming back to Lebanon? Well, I'm in Lebanon right now as I'm recording this Q&A video. I'm downtown in Beirut, but I won't be releasing any YouTube videos on this trip. It was just to catch up on some work, pick up my drone here, and then head to whatever country I'm going to next. I still don't know actually. Sipin 1T. What difference between Kurdistan and Iraq? Yeah, I think like the main differences are in Kurdistan they speak a different language. In Kurdistan they have a different type of cuisine, they have different landscapes. The landscapes I would say in Kurdistan from what I've seen are much nicer because there's more nature the further you go up north. And whereas in Iraq, a lot of it feels a bit more like desert in some of the areas. But I think there's also a lot of similarities, you know, both cultures are very welcoming, both in Kurdistan and Iraq. They were so excited to share with us their hospitality and invite us in for tea and make sure we knew where we were going. And so, yeah, there's a lot of similarities too, not just differences. Fawad Zahid 97, do you have sex there? Do many know? Do the people there? Yes, they reproduce babies. Great question. Melody's Poppy, is it true it's going to be the next Dubai? I think they're probably referring to Erbil being like the Dubai of country of Iraq and Kurdistan. But if you saw my Kurdistan Q&A, I wouldn't consider it like the Dubai of Iraq, but I know why people do, and that's basically because Erbil has a lot of modern architecture in some areas of it, and like it's very nicely designed and a lot of like areas to walk around with very like, you know, modern restaurants. But then, you know, a lot of Erbil, you also get your traditional setting as well. So, like, you know, one could compare it to that. I wouldn't, like, Dubai, it's such a massive city, and every single square inch for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of buildings, everything is perfectly designed. That's what kind of gives Dubai its unique overall feel. So I didn't fully get that vibe from it, but maybe one would argue that. All right, narrate memories. Did you feel uncomfortable at any point or scared? I already told you, pretty much just when I had that military escort on the train. If you saw that video when they pulled the gun on me, I also, after he pulled the gun on me, he like wanted me to put on pants because I was wearing shorts in the train because you're not supposed to wear you're not supposed to wear shorts in the train, but I was, and so like he wanted to walk me through the car, but keep in mind he was speaking only Arabic and I only knew English, and he was like walking me through the train cabins trying to find an English speaker. I don't know why. He just like really insisted on me coming with, and I had no idea why. It was really odd. Because he's walking through these train cars and it's like 12 or 1 a.m. and he's like yelling like Americana, Americana. And it was just, you know, like I don't know if someone in there has a problem with Americans. And so, you know, the fact that he was kind of like really soliciting me, walking through there, even though he was probably just trying to be nice and find an English speaker for me. That's what I want to believe, but it was really awkward and really uncomfortable because we went through like 6 train cars where he was going up to random people and like, you know, maybe I'd find someone that spoke a little broken English and they'd be like, what do you need? And I'm like, I don't need anything. I don't know why he's bringing me through here. And they're confused because I'm stressed out. And, you know, I was probably speaking a little bit faster and more frantically. And Luke wanted to stay in the train car. So I'm like on my own, like anything could happen right now. Yeah, I didn't like that. I was super uncomfortable. And like, I was like, come on, I want to go back to the cabin. And he was pulling me to go back, like to keep going to more train cars. And all this, like, and keep in mind, it's a police officer, a military guy. And I'm like, yo, no, like for real, I want to go back to the cabin. And I like started to get like really uncomfortable and really frustrated. And finally, after we went through, like I said, 5 or 6, maybe 7 train cars, then finally he brought me back. That part I wasn't able to film because he like told me not to bring my camera either, which was like, I don't know, it was just odd. And I was already very anxious because like the gun was just pulled out on me right before he took me for the walk. So it was crazy. But like other than that, like I never felt uncomfortable. But you know, that part I really did. Timber Rube, how did you arrange the travel? Did you have guides? Nope, Luke and I just flew in. We got a taxi when we got to the Baghdad airport, and we looked up some things we wanted to see. And then in the next morning after, because we arrived really late at night, the next morning we got a taxi and we just started seeing Baghdad on our own. Same thing when we went down to Basra, we found things we wanted to do and kind of walked around, ordered cabs, and that was it. But most people, I would say, take tour guides when they visit Iraq. It's just a safer way to do it, and it's easier to get around. And it's also easier when you go to checkpoints. We did run into some military when we were down in Basra, when we were on a boat. They were asking like, where's your employee? But that's what they were writing into Google Translate. So I'm guessing that Arabic translation was like, where's your tour guide? I think people are very concerned when like police and military, like why are these guys traveling without a tour guide? Because it's very abnormal. So you're going to be able to get through checkpoints in a much easier way if you're traveling with a tour guide. So I would probably recommend it, especially if you're a bit more on edge about going to Iraq. Like for us, it was an adventure to go through these experiences where we were stopped by the police and all that. And we wanted to be a bit off the beaten path for like more authentic content for you guys. So it was a bit more of a risk for us, but also a bit more of a reward because we were able to give the videos that we were able to show you guys over the last 10 or 11 videos here about Iraq. Jason Adams, when will your YouTube video on having to leave Iraq drop? Having to leave, I didn't have to leave Iraq, I just was planning to leave Iraq because that was just part of my schedule. There was no like danger or anything of why I had to leave. Maybe you're talking about the train video, so that's already been released and you'll definitely want to check that one out. Oldest 567, how different is the Kurdish region from the rest of Iraq? I already answered that. Neil M. Gus, were you ever scared? Answered that. Guala, what do you think about Kurdistan and Kurdish people? I think they're extremely kind, extremely welcoming, and I loved my time in Kurdistan. All of you guys out there were so kind, and the food was great, the experiences were awesome. It was really easy to communicate with people, also in English. Like most people, not most, but like I could always find someone in the close vicinity that spoke English, and they were able to help me with whatever I needed. So it was very easy for me to explore that place just for all those reasons. Jesse KSB, did you feel safe in Iraq? I already answered that one. Rabea Nazir, did you visit Karbala and Najaf Ashraf and make vlog there? No, sadly I didn't make it there. I really wanted to go to Karbala. That was actually like #1 next place on my list, but it just didn't work. I ended up flying out of Basra. I didn't make it back to Baghdad to take a little cab, like maybe 2 hours outside of Baghdad, I want to say is how long, I might be wrong on that, to visit Karbala. So if you're thinking about going, definitely go to both of those places. I've heard great things about them. When I come back to Iraq at some point, I'll definitely be making a trip over there. Now, if you want to see a vlog on it, make sure you're watching my buddy Luke Demant's YouTube channel. He did make it to Karbala because he stayed there, I think an extra 5 days past me, and saw some other areas of Iraq that I didn't see. So definitely check his channel. You can find a link to his channel in my description below. Charbel Serhal 8, have you ever felt unsafe while traveling to Iraq from like terrorist random attacks or bombings? Nope. I never really encountered that, but like I said earlier in this video, there was a terrorist attack that happened like a week and a half after me and Luke left. So that unfortunately those things still do happen. Dekarini, is Iraq safe and there is no war? Yeah, I think the majority of that question I can answer that the war is much different than what it was however many years ago. Is there still a war? I don't think so, but are there still like random attacks and things like that? Unfortunately, yes. There are organizations out there, terrorist organizations, that are still doing these types of attacks on people, so it's very sad. Yeah, I've already answered the safe part. I feel pretty safe there for the most part when I was there, but things do happen. Miss Lena, did you feel safe? I already answered that. Maha Asar, did you visit Imam Ali's shrine? Unfortunately not on this trip. Diyas, what are the honest differences and similarities between Iraq and Lebanon? I think probably the biggest similarity is the hospitality. Both in Iraq and Lebanon, people were very kind, very open, very like so ready to show me around and take care of me and ensure I had such an experience from the food side, the culture, the places to see, the recommendations, all of those things I got that both in Lebanon and in Iraq. I will say that in Lebanon there's a lot more nightlife, so that's a big difference, and for me I do love my nightlife, so that's something that Lebanon has. Where you can find a little bit of nightlife in Erbil, Kurdistan, Iraq, but you can't find as much of that in like Iraq proper. Like I think there might be some in Baghdad, but I didn't ever have any chance to experience it. So what other differences and similarities? Yeah, I think in general, finding like transportation options in Lebanon was a bit easier for me to navigate. There's a bit more English speakers in Lebanon, so that also was really helpful when it came to, trying to navigate my way around Lebanon when I first arrived. But, that being said, Iraq has just simply visited way less, so, you can't blame them. There's been a lot of recent things that have happened in Iraq over the last 20 years and so, there's not as much English speaking, and that kind of just comes with the territory. So Hajar SK963, what's one thing loved and hated in Kurdistan? I'm probably gonna start skipping through some of these Kurdistan questions, guys, because some of them are a bit repetitive, and I've actually made a complete separate video on my Q&A about visiting Kurdistan. And so this one I'm gonna try and keep more about Iraq proper, unless there's a question that directly relates to comparing Iraq and Kurdistan together. So if you want to see the Q&A about Kurdistan, just check the playlist link in the description below, and you can find the Kurdistan Q&A there, and that'll answer all of these questions for you. Casey Caputo, do you anticipate questioning upon arrival back into the USA, whenever that is? Probably, but I do have global entry, so usually I don't have to talk to customs agents when I arrive. I just basically fill in what was my last country, and then I'll walk right in. Now maybe I'll get flagged for it and they'll want to talk to me about it, but I'm planning to go to every country in the world, so it's possible though, it might give me a harder time now that I've been to Iraq to go to some countries around the world. They might just be like, you know, why were you there? So some would argue maybe that going to Iraq towards the end, since they put an actual visa in your passport, some would argue maybe doing that at the end of all your countries would be better, just in terms of reducing the amount of risk you might have of people questioning you. But for me, it just made sense to go to Iraq, and you know, I'm willing to have the conversation, and I have no problem telling anyone that, hey, you know, I'm a YouTuber, I visit places all around the world, and I'm planning to go to every country in the world, and so Iraq is one of them. And you know, ask me another question if you want. So, traveling with Moody, Iraq proper or Iraq Kurdistan, which one you enjoy more? It's a hard comparison because I spent more time in Kurdistan, so I saw more. I went out in the nature. I had a tour guide in Kurdistan for 3 days. Then I also went on some exploring. I saw a lot more cities there. So right now I would say I enjoyed Kurdistan more, but it's an unfair comparison because I didn't spend enough time in Baghdad and Basra. It's basically comparing 5 days to 14 days. 5 days in Iraq proper and 14 days in Kurdistan. So I need to go back and probably answer that question more honestly once I've been to, you know, other places in Iraq, and I can make a better comparison. Yasmin Abdallah, are they friendly towards Americans? Yeah, everyone was so friendly. Sometimes I was a bit cautious. You never know if someone has something against, you know, you directly just being from where you're from because of, you know, some things that have happened in recent history. So there were a few times where I didn't know just because they were speaking Arabic and I was speaking in English. And, you know, sometimes Arabic, when people are very, you know, excited about something, sometimes it can seem like they're very intensely talking to you. And so I had, you know, maybe one guy that I couldn't tell if he liked or disliked Americans when I said I was from America, so I was a little bit more hesitant in that area, in that general area, to mention that I was American. So I was just kind of like avoiding that question for a bit. Most of them, people were just like shocked that me as an American was there. Like I went down to Basra, I was like, oh, do you get many American tourists? I asked one of the taxi drivers, he's like, no, pretty much never. I just think people were more just surprised to have an American tourist there. James William 2793, what's the best thing have you seen in Iraq? That's a hard one. What was the best thing? I would say I really just enjoyed seeing the daily life, how people lived there, what the civilization was like, you know, how your average person survives and goes to work every day, their happiness, their, you know, just daily observations for me is what I enjoy the most, especially for a place that I've only ever known from the media and all the things going on. And so to see the real side of Iraq, see the nice people of this country, the civilization, oh, we just lost power. To see the civilization that exists behind all of the media. And for me, that was very special to see that and experience that and meet the people that have lived through all of the challenging things going on that are just, you know, your average people living there. And so that was very special for me to just experience it and observe it and understand their lifestyle a little bit more. Oh, and the power's back on. That's Lebanon for you. It cuts on and off quite often. Niven Yeya, as an Arabic country, how was it different from Lebanon? I already talked about that. Noor Al-Sharafi, top 3 favorite things about Iraq. Number 1, I loved how hospitable they were. You know, everyone wanted to invite you in for tea, as I've mentioned through this video. Wanted to share their experience. They wanted to learn about you. So I thought that was just really exciting to have that experience. Number 2 was I liked how pleasantly surprised I was on how modern some places are. Like the malls in Basra were just so lit up and glowing, and you know, had really beautiful shops and places to eat and so much energy, so much life. So that was a really cool, pleasant surprise to see that. Number 3, I loved how friendly the military were. Obviously, like in this video, I've shared some of the negative sides, but if you watch my video when I took the train from Baghdad to Basra, like the military we met were so nice at the train station. They invited us for food and we sat down, and you know, while we didn't speak too much of the same language, we were able to find ways to communicate. And it was just such a special experience to, you know, meet these guys who have AK-47s and at first look are very intimidating, but they're very nice people, and they were making sure that we got to the train station safely. They wanted to help us out and make sure we had a good experience. And so overall, I thought that was a very enjoyable experience and really nice and kind of them. And so those were probably my 3 favorite things traveling for 5 days through Baghdad and Basra. Harmusha, any nightlife like clubs, bars, lively downtown centers, etc.? Yeah, I believe there are in Baghdad. There were clubs and things, but I never made it. So hopefully I can go back another time and visit, but I don't know much about them. NA Khan567, your videos are really interesting, having very good content, really enjoying watching your videos. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time from all of you guys. When you watch these videos, when you like them, it helps these videos so much. I am so passionate about sharing the world with you guys, and I just couldn't be more thankful that you guys come back every single day to watch my videos. It just means the world to me, and I just want you to know that. So once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll say it a million times. Hala Buzzed, why didn't you post the stories while you were there? Didn't you feel safe there? Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I think from other vloggers that I had spoken to before, that was the main reason. They said they posted Kurdistan videos in the moment, and they didn't post Iraq proper stories in the moment just because of the, you know, potential risks. So while I never felt unsafe when I was in Iraq proper, I didn't want to put myself at any additional risk. So Luke and I basically agreed that we wouldn't post any stories or post any posts like feed posts on Instagram until after we both left the country, just to reduce any possible risks. But that's pretty much the main reason, just to play it safe. So yeah guys, that is all of the questions I have today. And just for those of you that are watching this type of video for the first time, after every country I'm going to, I am making a question and answer video. And how you submit these questions is, if you follow me on Instagram, after I visit a country, I'm posting a questions poll, basically to drop your questions on what you might be wondering about traveling, things to do, safety, my experiences, whatever it might be. I have these questionnaires that I'm asking you guys, and then I'm making a video after I get all the responses and sharing them with you guys here on YouTube. So yeah, just please follow me on Instagram, guys, because that's where you'll be able to submit all those questions. And thank you to all of you that have submitted the questions on this video. It helps so much. And it doesn't only just answer your questions. There might be other people that are considering traveling to Iraq or simply just curious. And thanks to you guys for submitting these questions. It adds an extra level of insight on what my experiences were like here in Iraq that my vlogs don't necessarily share with you because they're more focused on the daily life, whereas these are looking back on my experiences. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and thanks so much for watching it all the way through if you're still here. And if you want to see more videos both here in the Middle East as well as all around the world, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button below if you're not already subscribed. And once again, if you can smash that like button, it helps so much. And I will see you guys in the next video in the next country. I wonder where it's going to be.